It's February 6th, 2025, and we've got more weather to talk about. It's been really busy here at the Weather House this morning as we've had some severe weather, lots of tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings and flash flood warnings last night into right now from Kentucky into West Virginia, some portions of Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia as well. We've had some big time storms out there, and thankfully things are kind of clearing up right now. By the time you're watching this, things have probably calmed down even more, but as I'm filming this, we've got a lingering tornado watch over here in southeastern Kentucky, lots of flash flood warnings and watches through the mountains of West Virginia. We had some crazy flooding last night in the Charleston and Huntington areas, and the storms are going to push down into the Smokies and into the greater Asheville area later, but they're going to continue to get weaker as they go. Also, we've been having snow and a ton of ice up here a little bit farther to the north and east. We still got ice storm warnings in effect for south central Pennsylvania into portions of Maryland and northern Virginia, but that's also going to be wrapping up as we go throughout the day today. Plenty of winter storm warnings, watches, and advisories in the Sierra, the Cascades, and the Rockies as well. But we've been hooting and hollering about all this stuff for days. I mean, we knew all this was coming. Here we are. It's moving out. Now let's focus on the future. What's next? According to the GFS ensembles, we're going to be watching the West Coast like a hawk on Friday, February 7th, tomorrow, as another atmospheric river is going to be coming up through the Pacific, bringing a ton of snow to the higher elevations of California, up to 3 feet in some places. We're going to see lots of rain in the Central Valley as well, down into the West Coast. And what we're really going to be interested in is this energy hopping over the mountains here and what happens after that. Notice on Saturday, February 8th, 2025 at 1 a.m., we're going to have heavy snow in North Dakota and South Dakota. We're going to have some heavy snow back here in Utah, Colorado, and portions of Wyoming as well. And we have a larger low pressure system developing now that the energy has made it over the Rockies, and that's going to turn into a pretty robust storm system as we get into Saturday for Minneapolis. We're going to have intermittent blizzard conditions here, and we're going to start to see some moisture start to kind of form up down here in the Ohio River Valley again, over towards the mid-Atlantic. We might see some more icing on Saturday in places like Hagerstown, Maryland. We might see a couple more scattered thunderstorms in Nashville, but the main event is going to be right where those two pieces of energy kind of meet up, and we start to see heavy snow in Michigan, maybe even around Chicago, definitely in Detroit. We're going to see maybe some heavier mixed precipitation in Ohio and Pennsylvania once again, and we're going to see an all-out snowstorm in the Northeast, especially in upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and maybe southern portions of Maine. And then right there in Massachusetts, I think we're going to be having one of the more impactful snowstorms of the year on Sunday, February 9th. Okay, so the title of this video is there's two major storms hitting, right? This is just number one. This weekend, we're going to have a northern snowstorm, which is something we would typically expect to see. We've been tracking storms like this down near the Gulf, which has been weird, but now we're dealing with some more regular weather, I guess. But yeah, maybe up to 8 inches of snow over there near Minneapolis. A lot of Wisconsin getting in on the 4 to 8 inch of snow range there. A lot of the oven mitt of Michigan as well. Chicago, you might be a little bit too far south to get any significant accumulation with this one. But boy, whenever we go over here to the Northeast, especially in the Appalachian Mountains over there in upstate New York, we're going to see over a foot of snow, especially the closer you get to the lakes. There is going to be some sort of a lake enhancement feature to this. Not a whole lot of lake effect, although there will be some of that. But yeah, definitely around a foot of snow right in here, anywhere from 8 to 10 inches of snow across the rest of upstate New York, a lot of Vermont, New Hampshire, and once again, southern Maine. And then the sweet spot looks to be right here in Massachusetts, Boston. You guys could see close to a foot of snow from this one by the time we get to Sunday, February 9th, around 1 p.m. New York City, looks like you're too far south for this. This actually might end up being a little bit of an ice situation for New York City, but it'll be mostly just a mix, a mess of snow, rain, and maybe a couple inches of snow. But as of right now, you're too far south to get in on the biggest impact. Same thing for you guys in Philadelphia, for example. But this will shift a little bit. It'll change. I'm pretty confident in these totals as of right now. Key messages here is this is a cross-country storm. It starts tonight in California. It's going to be causing extreme impacts over there in California California and Oregon. It's going to kind of skip over the Intermountain West, and it's going to start causing more problems again once it gets over there into the Dakotas. It's going to be north of Rapid City, south of Bismarck. That's where we have an 80% chance or so of seeing winter storm warnings being issued here soon. Twin Cities, you guys are also going to be in on that as well. Chicago, too far south. And then down here's our probability of seeing more than 6 inches of snow. A lot of people are going to see more than 6 inches of snow from this one. Okay, so let's move on to the next storm. Now, this one's even farther into the future, and it's a little bit more blurry as to what the effects will be like, but we're starting to get a pretty good signal for who's going to be impacted. Day 5 here from February 10th into the 11th, Monday and Tuesday. We've got a decent chance showing up here for some sort of winter precipitation from Kansas City through St. Louis, over past Louisville, Cincinnati, into the mid-Atlantic regions once again. It looks like this might be another storm that impacts the Kansas City to Cincinnati corridor there, kind of like one did not too long ago. I don't know if it'll be that intense, but still, this is the area that we're watching here. And then as we go into Tuesday into Wednesday, our chances actually increase of seeing significant winter precipitation over here on the East Coast. As once again, I think this is going to be our classic kind of system that rides the coast like this and just dumps a bunch of snow somewhere in the Northeast or in the Mid-Atlantic. I think that Washington, D.C., I think that you guys have a good chance of seeing a good snowstorm out of this. I think the New York City Metro even has a good chance here. We know how this stuff changes so much, and this is the day 6 outlook. This is 6 days away. It's going to change. Don't get too attached to this, but still very confident that something is going to be happening over here as we get into February 11th and 12th. So as you can see, very active. It's going to be daily updates for the foreseeable future, as far as I can tell. After we get this storm out of here, storm number 1, it's going to potentially be quite impactful in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, the New York City area with mixed precipitation, heavy snow in Boston and points north. That gets out of our hair. And then our next storm here, a little blurry. It's far out. This is 129 hours into the future, but you can clearly see that we're going to have cold air in place. We're going to have moisture coming back up. This might actually have some sort of a severe weather aspect with it. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, the pattern that we're going to be in here is going to stick around at least through February 14th, potentially continuing to see snow and rain down here in the eastern portion of the U.S. And this is all happening because we've got this huge bag of cold air that's going to be trying to settle into the central and eastern portions of the U.S. But our big blob of warm air is really putting up a good fight, okay? It's not allowing it to take over like it did last time and go all the way plumb down to the Gulf. So what's happening here is we have a battle zone setting up in the middle, and we're seeing the impacts of that right now. We're going to have some days where it's warm, some days where it's cold, and the transition periods are going to be quite rough as far as storms go up and down this corridor right here. And you can see this really clearly on the total precipitation expected from the Weather Prediction Center. It's literally right along that corridor between the colder air masses and the warmer air masses. We're just going to see recurring rain over and over and over again in these places, and it might actually cause some flooding problems. So we're going to be very focused on the snow and the ice over the next few days, but I don't want to overlook the seriousness of the situation down here, especially if we end up with some places getting between 4 and 8 inches of rain in southeastern Kentucky, southwestern portions of Virginia, eastern Tennessee, the mountains of North Carolina, and down into Georgia. This is a place that has just dealt with a ton of flooding. We don't want to see any more of it. And it's also especially susceptible to flooding because of the mountains, because of the valleys. This is the kind of event that could lead to some widespread flooding. So start thinking about that if you live in the Appalachian Mountains especially, but even all the way back towards the Mississippi River, it's going to be raining a lot all week. Get ready for flooding. And of course, all day, we're going to be having some flash flood warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings popping up with our little system that's exiting the country. Y'allbot's going to relay those to you in real time over there on the Extra channel, Ryan Hall Y'all Extra. We've got a link in the description. Please go check it out. There was about 1,000 people watching earlier when we had the tornado warnings, and Y'allbot was just relaying them one after another. So very helpful. This is always going to be 100% free. I just want to remind you that it is a resource available to you over there on the Ryan Hall Y'all Extra channel. And that's all the weather talk I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will certainly see you tomorrow and the next day and the next day as we continue to track these major winter storms as they come in. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.